probably about 100 pitches for freelance articles a week. I commission and edit every single feature you see on The Escapist. I also get emails on a regular basis from aspiring writers who just want a job. And here's a depressing statistic for you. I commission about 4% of all the pitches that I get. Yeah, that means 96% get shot down. So every single thing that you can do as an aspiring freelancer to increase your chances of making it over that first hurdle is in your best interests. And what I was seeing as I was going through these pitches were a lot of the same things you'd think they were common sense, the same kind of mistakes that were just baffling me because they were creating a really negative first impression of the prospective writer. So I wanted to bring out here, as a freelancer, you'll hear lots of things about networking and how to get your ideas and all that, but you won't hear about these tiny little things that can be killing your chances, and you're probably not even aware of it. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about here. To help me out with this, I assembled a crack team.
You said crack.
Of terribly sexy people who have either have had a successful freelance career that they have turned into an editorial one, or still have a successful freelancing career. So they've been on both sides of it. So they're definitely going to have some additional insights to add. Before we get started, though, show of hands, how many of you are hoping to be a freelance game journalist? How many of you currently are? How many of you are just here so you can sit down? Okay.
We thought this was a different panel.
Appreciate the candor. All right. So we're just going to go down the line. Everybody's going to introduce themselves and explain how they got to where they be. So you're going to want to have good grammar. It's key. Explain how they came to be where they are today. So we will start with Ms. AJ.
I'm AJ Glasser. I'm currently the managing editor at a blog network called Inside Network. You've probably never heard of it. We cover Inside Social Games and we cover Inside Mobile Apps. Maybe you've heard of those, I don't know. But in my previous life, I used to work for Kotaku, Games Radar, and GamePro Magazine back when there was a GamePro Magazine. I am a freelancer that failed up into editorial, so it is in fact possible. I started freelancing in 2006 when GamePro Magazine's George Jones took a shot on me because I referenced sex in my cover letter.
Yeah, we're going to come back to that, my friend.
We're going to come back to that? Sit tight.
Hi there, I'm Kyle Orland. I'm currently senior gaming editor at Ars Technica for the last 2 months or so. Thank you.
You can clap for that. That's pretty cool shit.
First time I got paid for writing about video games was back in 1997 when I got a $100 check from a sponsor for Super Mario Brothers headquarters, my fan site. I got a job at the college paper writing reviews for $8 a pop after that, just to get some clips under my belt. I started writing for Game Critics for free. First big break was Joystick in 2006 when Chris Grant took pity on me and I was in the right place at the right time. And that kind of provided a base where I went from there to Crispy Gamer, to MSNBC, to Gamasutra, maybe not in that order, freelancing for The Escapist, and just pitching everywhere that paid a decent rate, and here I am.
Hi, I'm Andrew Hayward. I am a full-time freelance writer. Been doing this for about 5 years professionally. Have written for about 30 publications, about half print, half online. And for the last 6 months, I've also been a contributing editor for MacLife magazine, where I manage games and apps coverage for the magazine and the website. And that's my thing.
Hi, friends. My name is Justin McElroy, and I work for Polygon.com. It's a website. It's not yet, but it will be. I started as a freelancer long time ago, 2000 and nothing, and did a bunch of one-night stands for publications like OXM, PTOM, that's PlayStation, the official magazine. The acronym is not commonly used. Game Pro, PC Gamer. My friends at The Escapist took pity on me for a couple of articles, and
We take in wayward freelancers.
yeah, they shaved off the hair and fixed my eye like in a Sarah McLachlan Abandoned Dogs video, and then I worked for Joystick as a freelance contributor and freelance reviews editor. Figure that one out. And now and then I was the managing editor there, and now I'm the managing editor of Polygon.
Hi, I'm Robert Rath, and I'm severely outclassed. About 18 months ago, I decided that I would get a press pass to Fantastic Fest, which is a film festival in Austin, Texas, because waiting in line is for suckers. So I pitched an article on covering the arcade portion to Susan. I've now done 6 articles for The Escapist. I've been hired on for a web series as a writer, and I'm doing 2 panels at PAX. So it can happen.
So Rob makes a joke about how he's outclassed, but one of the reasons I really wanted him on this panel is because, to me, as an editor, he is the perfect freelancer. I understand exactly what his pitch is the second I read it. He delivers everything exactly on time, and I might have to change a comma. That's it. That is the guy you aspire to be, right over there. So he hasn't achieved the level of freelancer where I'm like, I need something written. Oh, hey, Rob, are you free? Can you write something for me? That is the place you want to be in when editors are contacting you because they know that they can rely on you. But that's never going to happen if you make a really stupid mistake when you start off. We've all done it. Just to let you know that we're not all here like, hey, we're awesome, we're fantastic, and we've never done anything like you. Yeah, no. So my favorite thing that I ever did, I was not a freelancer for very long. I was only a freelancer for a little over a year before I got signed on to the Escapist as a full-time staff member. But I pitched an article to a publication that will remain nameless because hopefully they've forgotten about it. I didn't do my research, basically. I did not look to see if they had ever covered this idea before. I didn't even particularly look to see if it was something that would fit with their voice. And I just pitched it because I thought it was awesome and I thought I could do it. And they rejected me within minutes. And they were absolutely right to. And they probably wrote me off as a complete doofus who didn't know enough about the place I was pitching to, which is kind of disrespectful. So, Justin, in your illustrious career, I know you're fabulous now.
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything slightly untoward like that?
Never. No, if you ever read Ultra Game Players magazine, you may remember. Yeah, shut up. Patronize me. You might remember Bill Donahoe.
Please do not lie to the panelists. It's not
worked
nice.
with Chris Slate and a bunch of those guys went on to work at other. They were on Ultra Game Players and then they were PSM guys. Those guys were like my heroes when I was growing up. A lot of kids idolize sports stars. I idolize game journalists, and I sent a link. I wrote this comedy blog called GetTheSugar.com, which was neither comedy nor a blog. And I sent a link to him because I was like so proud of it was basically like one of the first things I'd written on the internet. I sent a link to this guy who'd been my hero for years. So I was like, check this out, buddy. And it was an article about the top 5 games you should loot in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Now wait.
Oh!
Okay, hindsight, right? And he let me have it. This is not funny. This is not the kind of thing I want to read, let alone you should be writing. And I never talked to Bill Donahoe again in my life.
Wow.
But you know what? Read it. It was funny. And I'm here, and where's Bill Donahoe? What's now? But yeah, don't do that. Don't do what I did. I got very, very lucky.
Holy crap, dude. I'm not sure I can look at you the same way. Anybody else? Kyle, do you have any particularly embarrassing moments?
No.
Other than this panel?
I guess this is going to sound really cocky actually and not embarrassing, but you don't get 100% of the pitches that you don't make. So there've been a few pitches that I thought, I saw something happening and I thought, oh, that might be a good idea for a pitch. And then I convinced myself out of it. I'm like, oh, no one's going to want to read that. I'm not even going to send it to the editor. They don't want to be bothered. And then I see the next week that idea is being written by someone else.
Front page of Reddit even.
Well, did it? But, yeah, don't be afraid to try, I guess. But at the same time, I guess you don't want to try if you're not really confident in the idea. You don't want to make a negative impression. So I don't really know.
Since you bring up confidence, let's talk about confidence, because here's the thing. As creative people, we tend to be a little insecure because we're putting ourselves out there. You're putting out your work. You have to be a little vulnerable to do good work. And as a result, we tend to be a little insecure. And the way this can come through in an email, because if you're sending something to an editor and maybe you idolize that site and you just think it would be the most awesome thing ever and you're terrified because it's really scary to put yourself out there like that. And you go on the defensive and you say something like, I know I'm not the best writer. Then why would I hire you? I'm sure you probably won't run this, but... So a lack of confidence can definitely really create a bad impression, even though we know it's coming from a place of insecurity and defensiveness and going on the defensive before you get rejected. AJ, I mean, you hire writers all the time. How would you react to something like that crossing your desk?
If you say something to the effect of, you probably won't read this, that's where I stop reading, like right there. Thank you for telling me so. I'll just discontinue it right there. You don't realize just how much of your internal feelings will come across in the written word, I think, until after you've read it back to yourself aloud. So I would definitely encourage each of you to try that whenever you're constructing a pitch and you're trying to be funny or, I'm going to mispronounce this word, self-deprecating?
No, you did right.
Oh my God, yes! By the way, being dyslexic is not going to stop you. I'm just saying, you can succeed in this industry with a learning disability.
Yeah, you can clap for that, yeah.
Yay! Read it back to yourself aloud, and maybe you won't sound as funny or as, self-deprecating as you mean to be. Maybe you'll just sound like you are crapping all over yourself before you've even told me what it is that you want to write about. I don't have time for that, and I don't have time to hold your hand in the editorial process if I have to kick back a draft to you with edits. Because if you're freaking out before you've even written anything for me, I mean, how are you going to react if I kick it back to you and be like, I'm sorry, I can't work with this. I'm going to need, 100 extra words here. I'm going to need you to cut this. And are you going to have a nervous breakdown if I do that? Because if I have a reason to think that you will, I don't want to work with that. So I will not be contacting you for your pitch.
Then there's the flip side of it, which is having too much confidence.
I can actually speak to that personally because this was my boner as a freelancer. I pitched a topic on player versus environment and player versus players in MMOs and how they were very different. And as it turns out, I don't know nearly as much about that topic as I thought I did.
Oh.
So they said, oh, great, you can write that. And then about 3 paragraphs in, I'm like, holy, why did I do this? I'm only level 12 in World of Warcraft and I haven't touched it in months. I don't even know what I'm talking about. And had my own nervous breakdown. But we got through it. It took 3 drafts. It took a lot of interviewing people who did know what they were talking about. And that was my first ever published story, ever, that I got paid for. And I never, ever pitch something over my own head ever again. Don't do that.
Moment for me was actually for the Escapist. They were doing a non-fiction issue where it was you were supposed to write, or a fiction issue rather. They were supposed to write an original story. I thought, oh, how hard can fiction be? I pitched something about playing. I pitched. It was about finding a Game Boy after the zombie apocalypse or something, and a family's reaction to using the Game Boy. And it was so fun playing Tetris when there's no other recreation out there except poking things with sticks. And I'm like, oh, I'm the best fiction writer ever. This is so easy. Anyone can make up a story. No. It was awful, and my editor told me so, and he was right. And yeah, so know your limits. If you don't know a subject, or if you don't know how to write fiction, don't pretend you can write fiction just to try and get in the fiction issue.
I think it's important to find the line between confidence and cockiness. Act like you've been there. Be professional the whole time, and you can be gracious, but also don't be like, "Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. You won't regret this," because that probably doesn't give them a lot of confidence in you either. But as far as don't be cocky. You are, even if you're a very good writer, you're one of many, many, many good writers out there who are writing for these people. And I remember when I was close to graduating college, I thought I was, pretty good. And I emailed a big blog, and I thought I was hot shit. And I was like, hey, I should be your Midwest editor. Why don't you hire me? And didn't give them any ideas or any clips or anything. And they rightly did not respond. And
Do things happen in the Midwest? Is that
every once in a while.
I'm sorry.
I thought I saw an opening, and I'm like, hey, I should write for you. I'm awesome. And no, I wasn't.
Now, Rob still has a full-time job doing non-cool game writing stuff. So how do you think that has benefited you when you started doing pitches?
Quite a bit. I'm a paralegal, and law is a very staid, very, very formal profession. Exactly the polar opposite of the games industry. So when I write in a very formal style. I will always have a signature block. I'm always saying, dear sir or madam, Mr. and Miss, and just the normal sort of business writing things you would do. And sometimes it comes off a little too formal, but that's actually good because then someone can just relax you. Susan's first second reply email to me after hiring me was to quote South Park, which would get you pretty fired in law, but in the games industry is totally cool. So it's always good for me to start off formal and then kind of relax, and you know that you're not stepping on toes when you do that. Also, law teaches you to absolutely dot every I and cross every T. One of the first things a lawyer ever said to me when I started working at the firm was, you misspelled this word. I said, oh yes, I'm sorry, I typoed that. She said, we're sending this to a client that's we're billing for $500 an hour. They're going to look at that and say, if he missed that, what else did he miss? And that's exactly what an editor thinks when they see a mistake like that. It's just like, well, if you're not going to check your own work, what other big thing is wrong?
Yeah, that actually leads really, really well into, were any of you at the How to Get Into the Game Industry panel yesterday? Yeah, so we're going to start covering some of the stuff that came up there, which is that initial cover letter, that very first communication. Because here's something that you really need to remember all the time. Until I know you, I don't know you. I don't know how good you are. I don't know how reliable you are. I don't know if you're a raging psychopath or like really amazing. Once you establish a relationship with your editor, talk however you want. That's between you two. But that first communication is what I judge everything off of, because it's all I've got. So, Justin, you get an application or a pitch, and somebody who wants to, I love Polygon. I especially love its name. And I want to be a writer for you, and it's got typos in it.
No. I can put typos in things. I have a job. You don't. So I have people for that. I don't, but I could theoretically have people for that. No, it really is this above all else, don't have typos in your letter, because honestly, guys, look around you, the field is crowded. Some of you are actually looking. I love you guys. The field is very crowded with people who are very talented and have a lot of great ideas. And we actually just did a cold call for applicants for Polygon, and we had over 650 applications. And at that point, what I'm looking for more than anything is a reason to get rid of your application, because
True.
I'm one man and I have a lot of things to get through. I have a lot of applications to go through. All I want is a reason to disregard your application. I mean, that sounds mean, but
no.
That's the practicalities of the situation. Do not give someone a reason to get rid of your stuff. That it is completely in your power to check that stuff. And if you don't know how to do it, learn, because it is essential.
I similar situation, posted an ad for news writers for The Escapist, got 467 applications. I had them write up a news story. I deliberately spelled things wrong in the news story. I spelled Cliff Blazinski's, it's hard to say, spelled his name wrong. I spelled connect wrong. If they did not fact check either of those, they were immediately tossed.
How many people did that get?
Let's see. That cut out. That was easily half the field. Easily.
We did that last year at a panel of the Sorting Hat. Remember, we
Yeah.
had people like submit news stories, and nobody was catching any of the fact check errors in the fake press release we gave y'all, and nobody called the number to fact check either.
No.
Basic common sense will save you in any field at all. Even being a doctor, common sense can save you. But check your spelling, check your facts. If you are not sure, check it 3 times instead of just twice. Because, even something that you were so confident about, like, who here's seen the Disney movie Sleeping Beauty? The book, when it closes, what color is her dress at the end of the movie? Shout it out. What the hell, people?
I don't know.
Now raise your hand if you don't know on what color her dress is when the book closes. That's fine. It's okay to not know.
Yeah.
But I promise you can Google this shit. Answer, pink. Closes on pink. I lost $50 in a bet on that. That's how I know it.
My general rule when editing stuff is you go through it, and if you found one thing in that time going through it, you have to go through it again. You have to do one read-through where you didn't see anything. And if you saw one thing, then you have to do it again. And then maybe you'll see another thing that you didn't see last time, and then you have to do it again because you saw one each time. That's the best rule of thumb I got.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get it together for a cover letter, and you want me to trust you with a whole feature, it's just not going to happen. That's not realistic. But AJ, you said common sense, and clearly this stuff isn't common sense, because if if one guy sends me a pitch and it's got a typo in it, okay, fine, whatever. This happens constantly. So check it, and then have your friend check it. Maybe your mom.
Now we're making everyone scared, I think.
Yeah.
We're being really depressed.
Here's the thing. Here's one major takeaway. I do not want all of you to come out and be like, oh crap, we're all screwed. This is to help you. We are trying to raise you up, to give you the best possible chance. There are a gazillion reasons you might get rejected that have absolutely nothing to do with your talent. It's incredibly competitive. We all have very specific needs. You might not fit that need at that time. Everything we are telling you is to help increase your chances as much as possible.
Always remember that this is a relationship where I have a need and you're going to help me. Don't ever use that against me. Don't victimize me. Like, I'm going to roll in here and I'm going to save you because I know everything there is to know about this one topic and I'm your guy. And, that's great. Now I just feel bad and I don't want to work with you. And, at the same time, I need to know that I can rely on you. Like, I don't want you like, well, you're not going to read this, or I'm not the best writer. No, I don't need that either. But I need you to come in and say, hey, if you need X, Y, or Z, I'm your guy. I'm your girl.
What can you do for me? Not what can you as a writer do for me as an editor? Not what can I as an editor give you as a writer.
Did you guys? Has anybody in here ever read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People? Anybody? If you haven't, read it. It's great. And one of the major points in the book is learning to understand that the thing that people care about almost exclusively is themselves. People are not interested in helping a new person. They're not. What they're interested in is finding someone that makes them look impressive, finding a story that makes them look impressive. If you go into a mindset of how can I help this person, that people will respond to that 100 times more frequently than they will about I have this thing. You have to. It's like super basic psychology, but you have to make that person want it. You have to have them meet you halfway. Rob, I do not know personally, but we just met very recently, and while we were chatting before the show, he said before the panel, he mentioned casually some of the stories that had not been written in the past few years, and the kind of things that made him want to get into this. And me as an editor, that starts my gears turning. Like, I don't know what this guy has, but I want it. That's coming from me. And if you can flip that switch in an editor's head, you've got him.
You can't have him.
Fight right now.
I saw him first.
You have to hire him then.
That's a different panel where we arm wrestle. Because we're clicking right along, and I definitely want to leave time for questions. I really want to cover propriety, the kind of language that you use in your pitch, even forgetting the stupid stuff like typos and getting the person's name wrong. And look, I know my last name's weird. It's only 6 letters long. If you can't get it right, not going to hire you. You really need to be conscious of the word choices that you're using. For example, I had a guy send me a pitch about where he was trying to express the thought that he liked something a lot. He was referencing a TV show. This TV show was so fabulous it made him cream his jeans. Now, to him, that expression simply means, I like this. He did not follow the thought process through, I am talking about ejaculating to a woman I've never met. This brings us to AJ.
In my defense, they all think I'm a dude whenever I pitch anything.
That's true.
Yeah. But in any case, one of the most valuable pieces of advice I ever got from a newspaper writer was make sure they remember you. And this is really hard. This is almost conflicting advice because they say that you need to spell check your cover letter, you need to be straightforward, you need to just get to the point. But at the same time, you need to be memorable somehow on a piece of, email correspondence that's probably going to get deleted maybe 3 sentences in if you're, lucky. So I took a shot. I was working the worst possible job after I got out of college, and I had lost my fear. I was no longer self-deprecating.
You were Honey Badger.
I was sniffing panties. No, you all laugh. I am not kidding. That was my job, and that was my plan B, as it were. So I needed a job, and I applied to everything, even if I wasn't qualified, because I had lost my fear. I don't care about rejection anymore. I was sniffing panties every day. So I sent in...
We'll come back to it, people. Just...
I applied to a features editor position at GamePro. I had no editorial experience. I had nothing to prove that I played video games at all in my resume whatsoever. And yet I applied, and because my cover letter was so well written, George Jones gave me freelance work because I proved I could put together a sentence, and I got him to laugh. Because all I said was, I said, I realize my resume doesn't reflect a game's history, but video games and writing are 2 out of the 3 things I get to do in cold weather that I'm good at. The 3rd thing you'll know about when we're more intimate. Did I say sex? Did I say penis? Did I say cream? No. I managed to make him think of something.
Could we all not say cream for the rest of the weekend? Would that be okay? Like a mini panty up here. Not trying to...
We're all drinking lattes up here, AJ. Come on.
I let him, in his mind, take it where it needed to be. He laughed. He gave me an assignment. I did the assignment. It wasn't until 6 months later when I went into the office to get another assignment that he found out I was a woman. It blew his mind. Wow, you're AJ? And people still do this. I've been doing this for 6 years, y'all. You can Google me. My gender is not a secret, and people are still surprised. So...
I know I am.
She is. Every day.
Every time I wake up next... No. But at this point, okay, so... What I wanted to do was to just put the kind of pitches I get up on a screen and go... But that would be rude. Because it's not about humiliating a particular person. It's just about helping and showing you the kinds of things that would not be appropriate. So Rob, very thoughtfully, wrote up fake versions of the kind of stuff I actually see every day. Can you skip to the 3rd one?
Yes. Yes, I can.
See? Reliable.
Hey. I was reading your website, Game Junk Drawer, and I was like, this website doesn't have any articles about lemmings. What's the deal? This would be a shitty website if it doesn't have any articles about lemmings. If you don't want your website to be shitty anymore, you'll commission my article about lemmings. Lemmings are awesome. They're tiny and look like dicks with punk girl hair. I want to write an article about how much I liked playing Lemmings when I was a kid, and how let down I was when there was no sequel. But recently, I totally creamed my jeans when I found out that it was getting re-released for the iOS. Laters, John Doe.
Okay, true story. He sent these to me. I replied to him, wait a minute, didn't I actually get that one? I couldn't tell that it was fake because it was just so familiar. Please go
Bad
on.
news, Susan. If I get that letter, how big of a check do you want?
I would like to point out I wrote this.
You're hired.
You can't have him.
And the editor's reply is, Dear John Doe, sorry, we've already published 2 articles about lemmings recently. Also, you might want to use more appropriate language when you make a pitch. Just a friendly suggestion. Sincerely, Steve, editor, Game Junk Drawer.
You should
Steve.
You should tell them about lemmings too, as well, which does exist.
Steve, I didn't want to write for your crap publication anyway. You probably weep yourself to sleep in an empty bed because you're forever alone and work for Game Drunk Drawer, which is the laughingstock of the gaming press. I read a bunch of your articles and your writing sucks. Sucks balls. I hope someone kicks you in the sack so you can never have children that'll grow up to write diarrhea articles like yours. Also, I looked up your high school yearbook photo on the internet. You were ugly then too. John Doe.
Be still, my heart. I love this guy.
Career suicide right there.
Here's the thing. Being rejected, you're going to be rejected more often than you're going to be accepted. Doesn't matter how good you are. This is a fact. You will be rejected more than you will be commissioned. Just because it's numbers, right? It never is awesome to get told no. Rejection sucks. Rejection hurts. It's emotional. Do not lash out at your editor. We all talk to each other. We will pass your name around. We all have that. We all have them. We have names like, oh, okay, this person, no way, because here's why.
We email each other. We even tweet at each other. Like, have you heard of person X? Is person X any good? Oh God, no. Let me tell you about this one pitch I got. You know, your reputation will follow you. And you know, that said, there are ways to recover from certain faux pas. But in general, any sort of hostility or open attack, you don't come back from that. Like,
Sorry, go ahead.
we're friendly people. We don't like that, and we have long memories.
Faux pas, by the way, this is one that happens all the time and will kill you. Before you pitch a publication, find out the person you should be pitching to. Look for an about page or a contact page. You'll find something called the masthead, and that's where all the people who work at the publication will be listed. You'll find a features editor, you'll find a reviews editor, a news editor, some variation on those three things, or a managing editor. If you do not know which of those categories your pitch should go to, it's probably time to go back to the pitch drawing board. But find the right person and send it to them, because the things that we were talking about, like reasons to get rid of people, like looking for them, if I get an email that should go to somebody else, if I'm in a nice mood, I will forward it. If I'm trying to get to inbox 0, God help you, because it's going right to the old archive. So find the right person. Make sure you're pitching the right person for the right thing.
And don't assume the right person is a man. If you send something to me that says, "Dear Sir," you better win me over really fast.
And the thing is, if you do get rejected too, don't assume you know why you got rejected.
Yeah.
Don't send a follow-up email saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe you won't hire a guy like me just because I don't have any experience." It might be just your pitch wasn't good.
I got one like that.
We might want to
2
hear another
days
pitch.
ago. 2 days ago, I got that exact thing.
They said,
Like,
"How
I don't
dare you?"
believe you wouldn't take a chance on me. Like,
Why? Yeah, don't. Why should we take a chance?
Why can't you believe it? It happened.
that wasn't why I shot him down. I already had an article on that basic topic in progress. The idea was great. The pitch was great. I just already had it. Didn't need it from this particular guy. He jumped to a conclusion, and now I think less of him.
Don't be, going back to the pitch drawing board also isn't a death sentence. I mean, when I started out as a freelancer, I had 3 dream articles I wanted to write. I wanted to review a numbered Final Fantasy game. I wanted to write about pregnancy in video games.
Have you done that yet?
I have.
Okay.
I've done both of those things.
We've been talking about that for years.
We have, and it was on Kotaku, and it was fucking awesome. Anyway, and then I also wanted to do something about breast cancer awareness. Also did it. You will find opportunities, and where you cannot find them, you can sometimes create them. But if you send in a pitch and it's not right for that publication, they already have something in progress, or it's just not the right time of year because Breast Cancer Awareness Month is only once a year, then, put it in a shelf, come up with something else. Do not keep pitching the same thing to the 5-6 different publications. Pitch it one time, gets rejected, move on. Always have something else ready to go. Always have something, keep reading, keep looking, keep thinking, keep writing it down somewhere. And then when the day comes when you finally send in that pitch, "Hey, Brian Ashcraft, can I write about pregnancy in games?" "Sure, why not? We got nothing in that slot." Cross it off your list and get yourself like a cheeseburger or something, because you did it. You achieved a goal, and goals are good to have. Maybe you won't be the guy that reviews Mass Effect 4, but you will maybe review Mass Effect 8. It can happen. For me, it was Final Fantasy 13.
Oh,
Nice.
weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start lining people up for questions. I assume folks have some things they would like to know. Maybe not. Really? None?
Well,
Where do
there
they
we
line
go.
up?
Oh, okay, cool.
Middle.
Right down the middle here. Yeah. And while we do that, let's go right on down the line. If you could boil it down, if they could come away from this with just one thought, what should they come away from the panel with? Go.
Have a take, don't suck. I stole it from Jim Rome, but it's true.
Make the editor want you and be original.
Be extremely professional and courteous when you're dealing with people, especially the first time around.
Figure out the one thing you can do that no one else can, because that's the only thing people will need you for.
When it comes to competence or confidence, the sweet spot is to be just a little bit above where you're actually competent, because that's where you're going to grow. So if you're a little bit uncomfortable with what you're working on, generally that means it's good. You don't want to get in over your head, but you want to be a little bit out of your depth always.
Nice. All right, let's go.
Hello, my name is Jordan Culver. I'm actually currently a journalist for the Tallahassee Democrat in Tallahassee, Florida. And when I pitch any idea to any editor that I ever work with, I always like to have some sort of rough draft or something already going when I pitch the idea. That way when they ask, hey, how far along on this are you? I can say, well, I've done these interviews and I've done this. Would you guys recommend that for game journalism too? Go out, do some work on your own before pitching anything at all?
Who's up? Anybody can answer that.
You know, I think it's important to make it clear that you know where you want to go with this story. When you send your pitch, you should probably detail it within a paragraph or two. Beyond that, I don't know that I would personally recommend putting a lot of time into an idea until it's commissioned. I think you can get a lot across just by doing your research, just basic research, and saying this is what I want to do, where I want to go with it. Kind of go from there, because you might end up wasting your time if
Have
they
a
don't.
I would say have a lead in mind, and then have a couple sources that you could or already have worked with.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Lightning round, let's go.
Hello, I am a game design student in Detroit, and writing has always been my forte. But something that I've always been concerned about is if you are writing something that purely by coincidence is similar to something that someone else has written before, and you get accused of plagiarism, what is the best way to handle that situation?
Have you published something that was already similar to something published? Or
No, it's just always been a concern that I've had because I write so much.
Get over it.
I've just wondered if
Seriously,
that
I'm not trying to be mean.
It's-
That is going to happen.
Yeah.
Go,
Sorry,
Kyle.
Don't mean to interrupt. Yeah, there's a difference between writing about the same topic. There's no new topics out there, really. You're going to write about the same topic. If it's going to be plagiarism, you're going to have to use the same word choice, and it's really apparent when there's a whole paragraph that's only a few words changed. If it's just the same topic, someone's going to say, "Hey, you stole my topic," but you're like, "Come on, it was an obvious idea. We came up with it independently, and
Great
it's
minds
not
think
plagiarism."
alike. Move on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not gonna. You're not going to get plagiarism by chance. You're not going to use the same exact words.
Okay, thank you.
Hey guys. First of all, thank you all for being here and for proving that freelancers, can in fact make it, because it can be a cold, dark, lonely world out there. And my question is mostly for Rob, but anybody can chime in if they want. I find it really difficult sometimes to both have a full-time job and to write. And I know that time as a writer, time needs to be carved out of the day, sometimes in bloody chunks. But after you spend, say, 12 hours slaving over code or slaving over a brief, for example, it can be really hard to find the energy to make the time. And I was wondering if you had any insight onto how to do that, or do you just do it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have the 40 hours a week plus in the firm. I'm also the vice president of a environmental company, and I do freelancing. So time is always a premium. For me, the big thing actually is to just have a good writing space that you don't use for anything except writing, and you just make sure that you spend time in that space. That's what works for me. Is just when I'm sitting. I actually have a separate desk that I write at. It's very, very small, so nothing can fit on it except my laptop. And you can also, first of all, it was just because the cat was always jumping up on my desk. but it just works. If I can't have anything to distract me, it's less a time thing and more a just focus thing.
And remember that you can do a lot of your writing, where I do most of mine at least, is here.
Thank God, I thought you were going bathroom on that.
Susan. I'm
He
embarrassed.
thinks really hard.
Yeah, yeah. Remember that you can, even no matter what job you're working on, or what you might be doing at the moment. I do a lot of my writing, while walking or shower or whatever, like doing cooking or washing dishes. You can be composing things up here while you're doing those.
For me, I won't lie, sick days. I was working full time at NPR, and when I had too many freelance things, I had to call out.
Kyle Orland. I love this side of you.
This was years ago now, so I don't think they can take away my pay. But if you get overwhelmed, it can happen.
Oh, also lunch hours. Lunch hours are really good. Do all your business correspondence at lunch hour, and then when you get home, write.
Thank you very much.
How's it going, guys? My question is, how do you find the balance between sounding genuine in your articles, or versus sounding like a tool, or trying to sound, like you're trying too hard?
Are you genuinely a tool?
Well,
No.
part of it, I wrote for Games Radar for a long time, and there's the Games Radar voice, which is really snarky and funny and stuff, but at the same time, when you try too hard to be funny, you sound like a tool. It doesn't matter who you are or how good of a person. So I had a test where if I could read aloud my article to a friend of mine, someone who knew me from way back, and they didn't immediately roll their eyes at me or get up and walk out of the room or not get the joke, then it passed the test. It was fine. Maybe I was a little bit more Barbie than I normally am. Maybe it was a little bit bitchier than I normally am. But at the same time, if they understood what I was talking about, and I wasn't having to pause to see if they laughed at my joke, then yeah, it hit that sweet spot. But if I was constantly pausing to see if they got it, then I tried to.
And sometimes it's just finding the outlets that fit your natural voice.
Mhm.
If I know you want all the paying work you can get, but if there's a place that's paying and you read their stuff and you're like, I could never write like this, you can try, but it's going to be tough and it might come off as artificial.
Thanks, guys.
So there was an example of sort of accusatory follow-up emails after rejection.
Yeah.
But if you have written an article that you think would be a really great fit for a website and it's rejected, is it appropriate to send a polite follow-up asking?
It is always appropriate. Great question, excellent question. Yes, absolutely. If I send you, thank you, but I'm not interested, absolutely follow up and say, okay, I understand. Could you tell me why? Or could you tell me how I might improve? Or could you tell me how I might better fit the Escapist? That is all perfectly reasonable and fair. One, you get one. Do not keep pestering me. Yeah, well, but I thought, no, I am more than happy to tell you, yes, here's exactly why you got rejected. And at that point, you go and move on, and that's it. But yes, that is always appropriate.
All right, thank you.
What if you don't even hear back? It's happened to all of us. We've done it sometimes.
Wait a week, then email again.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. I try to get to, I respond to every single pitch I receive. Every single one gets a response. I don't get it right away, but I do respond to all of them. I try to do it within a month.
All right, thank you very much.
Efficiency in motion.
If everyone could group together, if you have the same questions, that'd be great.
Moving on up. Here's another question about.
Wait. I love your tie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You will stand out in our memories.
And it matches these glasses.
Fantastic.
Power move.
Another question about balancing full-time jobs and freelance creative work. I try to ask this to as many people as possible because I get completely different responses, and that's, when do you get that comfort period to be able to move into, say, being a full-time freelancer? I've had people say, as soon as you feel like it, go with your heart. The work will follow.
No, it's like.
And then I've had.
Go with your rent.
What I think is much more reasonable is never. Don't ever do it.
It's okay.
You've got a good job.
It is right up there with, when's the right time to become a parent? Seriously, it will never be the perfect time. That will not happen. So you have to take that leap, and that only you know when you have the guts to do that. Be reasonable about it. Make sure your bills are getting paid. Make sure you have a backup plan if things don't go exactly according to plan.
If you have a spouse, speak to the spouse.
Oh, dear God, yes.
Please.
You could lose your spouse over shit
Yeah.
like this, y'all.
Yeah.
For me, the moment I felt confident enough, and my future wife, who I was living with, felt confident enough, was when I got a regular gig at Joystick. I'd been doing freelance for a bunch of places before. Wasn't only making a few $1,000s a year. Joystick, they wanted me for regular posts, 3 to 5 a day, and that was work that I knew would be reliable. And I was there for 2 years and I made a lot of money off it. So if you have a nice base or some editor that you know will give you, X amount of dollars a month, then you can start from there and you can grow.
Yeah, recurring gigs like that are obviously great. You can rely on it to some extent, but also if you just have, recurring articles from the same publication or editor, if you can string that along a few different outlets, and you can sort of rely on it, like it may not be every week that you'll get an assignment from these people, but if there's some consistency to it that, you can kind of plan out and then see how much you're going to bring in at any given time, you can sort of base it off that and sort of see where you're comfortable as far as what you need to bring in to do this full time.
You also have to understand that freelance journalism, not just games journalism, all freelance journalism is a very inconsistently paying gig. If you have an article published, it doesn't mean someone cuts you a check and mails it the next day. It has to go through processing, and sometimes there are delays, and it's, for example, my sister and my brother-in-law are freelancers, Middle East journalists. They've been in Iraq for 5+ years. One of them had an article on CNN. It was 2 years before she got paid. One of them had an article for the BBC. He didn't get emails back, and 18 months later, this check showed up.
Yeah, quick note.
Yeah.
So it's,
quick
it
note
just-
about the money. File your taxes quarterly and keep your own balance sheet. Make a spreadsheet
Yeah.
for what you've done and what you need to be paid for. It is your job to follow up and make sure you're getting paid on time.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
true.
will forget, not because they're trying to cheat you out of money, but because they forget.
Sometimes they're trying to cheat out of money.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, once you do have a a good freelance routine going, the hardest problem usually won't be getting work and doing the work; it'll be getting paid, because you have to be so on top of that at all times. And when I first started, I wasn't keeping track. I didn't have a spreadsheet going, and I probably wasn't working enough to where I was forgetting things. But if I didn't have a spreadsheet for the last 2 or 3 years, I would have lost probably quite a bit of money, just because they don't keep track of it, really. So
No.
we have to as freelancers.
I think some of your invoices made it into my inbox at Games Radar when I was an intern and had no business looking at your
I
invoices.
didn't send them to you.
Exactly.
They deal with literally hundreds of writers. I don't remember, when did that run? Okay, all right. We're not, it is your responsibility to make sure, hey, you gotta get paid.
Thank you very much.
Hey, my name is Perry Jackson. I write for XBLA Fans and the news editor. First off, Justin, I really read a lot of Ultra Game Players when I was little. I was idolized it and stuff. So that's why I rooted earlier, because you were all like, "Nah." But yeah,
Being the dead
and
horse.
I do wonder what Bill Donahue is nowadays.
Question.
But a question, yes, sorry. Sorry, I'm stammering. What was your advice on writing the perfect cover letter? Because usually that's something I kind of suffer with sometimes when trying to get the right words and trying to sell myself in the best way possible.
It's not about selling you, it's about selling the story. It's about
Story?
selling
Okay.
the idea. I mean, assuming you're pitching a story. Don't just come to me and say, I would like to work for you. Great, I'm sure you would. What you got? Right? Come with an idea. Make sure I understand clearly exactly what you are trying to do, what story you're trying to do, what column you're pitching, what feature you're pitching, whatever. And then convince me that you have the ability to do it. Part of that, no typos.
A pitch cover letter is different than a job cover letter.
True.
Do not use your job cover letter to do a pitch. That is the wrong format.
Yeah, start with the pitch and then maybe a paragraph about your experience and some links to clips.
And remember also that, at least this is for me personally, when we've been talking about all the emails we get, brevity. Shakespeare said brevity is the soul of wit, but he could have also said brevity is the soul of getting that Skrilla. Because it really, if I can get through your thing and we skim everything, right? If we can get through it and it's short and the whole idea is absorbed by us in that time, then that's your high impact cover email. Yeah.
Also, I cannot stress this enough. Get an email address that does not make you look like a doofus.
Yes.
Okay.
Make it your name. Ideally, if I do a search in Outlook, thousands of emails in Outlook. If I go, wait, what was that guy's name? He had a really interesting idea. It was Mike something. And I put in Mike and you don't come up because you're, Weed Lover 420,
Then you're hired.
Nice!
Your hiring standards are really different.
I don't know that I want to read Polygon after this, man.
I do want to work.
All right,
for
thank you
them.
very much.
you want to work for it. You want to read it.
No,
We're
thanks,
running out
guys.
of time, so let's get as many people as we can up here.
Hi there. I was wondering, when emailing an idea for a pitch, what is an appropriate thing to include in the subject line of the email to make sure that they don't delete it immediately from the inbox?
It should take about 3 words to convey your pitch. The subject, the verb that is acting on that subject, and then usually a third piece of context just to tell me what it's about.
Honestly, for me, I just want article pitch.
Yeah, with a colon.
Like
Yeah.
pitch and then the actual pitch in the colon. I don't want to just see article pitch
Okay,
and
that's
nothing
fair.
else. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's
article
gonna
pitch and
confuse
then the
me.
pitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
If you do make one of those more benevolent mistakes, like, oh, hey, we already ran this piece of content, that's fine. Is it appropriate to still continue to pitch if you have a new pitch idea?
Pitch
or
other
should-
ideas?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, not liking one idea does not mean we will never like an idea of yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. Come at me, bro.
Thanks.
So I write a blog for myself, and I have all kinds of articles, and I keep with the industry and everything like that. When I'm going to do a pitch for each of you guys, is it appropriate for me to take one of my old blog articles and sort of get a little piece of it and give it to you, or is that something that you're going to look back on eventually?
I can only speak, this is just Escapist policy. We do not publish anything that has run anywhere else in any form that includes your blog. However, a blog is a great way to provide writing samples. But do not say, hey, I have a blog. Would you like to read it? Go, here's an article about this. Link, here's an article about this. Link. The easier you make it to see how good you are, the more likely I am to try and find out.
Thank you.
And if you send a link to your blog, there's a probability that one of your duds could be at the top. We all have them.
Oh,
Clunkers.
yeah.
Things are embarrassed
It
of.
could be about, like, you know, the games to play after Katrina, for example.
Right.
Burn!
No, still pretty funny. You should read it. It is good. It is a good article.
All right.
If he broke up with a girl named Katrina before,
Right.
it might be more appropriate.
Before I get started into this, I wanted to point out that it did happen more in an unprofessional setting than it did in a professional setting. When I would send in my pitch and
Could you speak a little closer? Thank you.
Okay, when I would send in my pitch and everything would be fine, I'd get to know my editor. Sometimes it would come up that, hey, I'm African American, sometimes it wouldn't. And I noticed that in my stories where I mentioned, hey, I'm African American, I sometimes get the, oh, well, we were kind of expecting your article to be more ethnic, be more black, be more angry black lady. And I'm wondering if there's less of that in a professional setting versus kind of a non-professional setting.
It depends entirely on the publication. It's not about like professional versus unprofessional. I mean, sometimes they want you to play the card that you have. I mean, I'm Jewish and I'm a chick, and I have been pressured to play both of those cards for certain publications. There is a right way and a wrong way to do it, and if you ever feel uncomfortable, speak up early.
Yeah.
Speak up and CC HR if you have to. CC, like, your mom if you have to. Get a witness on that email thread to be like, you know, I realize that you want me to, you know, explore this topic. I'm not comfortable with the way that you keep bringing it up. I'm not comfortable with the way you keep referring to me. Like, or let me get back to you on that. Just, you know, you don't have to play your cards if you don't bloody want to.
If you, first of all, if you feel like you've been disrespected, tell them to fuck off. You don't want to work for them.
Well, my immediate response is to very nicely would tell them to go screw themselves, but it's...
That'll work too.
White men, what do you think?
What?
I got nothing.
Oh, crap, Kyle. Here's what I think, seriously, and this is coming from someone who just read, like I said, however many hundreds of pitches. If you are not a white dude, please write about video games.
Yes.
Seriously.
That's
please
good.
write about video games. We need everybody, every non-white dude we can get.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Peter Nelson, and I got into games journalism a couple years ago by blind luck. I'm
Best
one.
way.
What's that?
The best way.
It was pretty cool, but I'm mainly wondering if I never went to college, don't have a writing degree. How important is that sort of education, or is the games industry really just a meritocracy?
I have a journalism degree. It is fucking useless.
Completely useless. Because I mean, I've spent the past 2 years being like, maybe I should go to school
This
for
question
that.
comes
No.
up all the time, and we argue about it
We do.
all the time.
So who disagrees?
Well, the way I always think of it, if you can write, you don't need college to prove you can write. If you can't write, college might be a good place to learn.
Fair.
Exactly. This job, here's the thing. If you're going to work for me, I need you to have a certain skill set. School is a place you can get that skill set. It is not the only place you can get that skill set. All of that said, I'm a very big fan of having a plan B, because the writing thing is tough. Being a freelance, anything is really, really hard. Having a degree can help you have a plan B, but it's certainly not required, I think, to do this job.
The education can be very important.
Yeah.
If you don't need it, then don't go for it. But I have a print journalism degree, and I've never once gotten a gig by saying, "Hey, I went to college. I have a degree." Like that's done absolutely nothing for me, just as the piece of paper.
Doesn't prove
I
anything.
sniffed pennies, okay, and I had a degree.
It's like the one. You're saying that the games industry is like the one field where that piece of paper really is just a piece of paper.
As long as you can write, that's all that we really care about.
There might be other fields. I don't know.
I would say, though, that I have had many discussions, especially, I think, hiring discussions when you're talking about somebody who maybe doesn't have the years and years of experience. I have in discussions said, well, he also has a journalism degree. I mean, I think, it is definitely not a disqualifier. God knows. My degree is in acting and directing and not being employed. Like, that is my degree, so you don't need it, but I think in a real way it can legitimize you. It can legitimize your stuff.
I agree. It depends, and it's usually only for full-time jobs. I mean, for freelance,
yeah, I think that's true. I think there may even be more of an attraction for when you're freelance for not being that.
But
I think people are drawn to that.
I think that actually underlines what I was actually trying to get at, is because very few people, I think, want to stay a freelance writer.
Right.
People would like to do this for a living.
If you're looking to level up, I mean, you can definitely. You know what? Come talk to me afterwards.
I love that.
Yeah, we got to.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
That's a long discussion. We could do a poll panel on that. Go.
How important is your location to becoming a games journalist?
Dude, I'm in Raleigh, Durham.
But that said, we had a couple of panelists yesterday who were unwilling to move to get in the games industry.
Obviously, you will have more opportunities if you are in a place like San Francisco or Seattle or New York, because you will have easier access to press events where you can, Gamer Days, where you can go and do hands-on and say, hey, I'm going to the Capcom event, and you can pitch that, obviously. However, Kyle, where do you live?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Andrew?
Not a hub of the video game industry, unless you're Jesse Shell.
Andrew?
Chicago, which, big city, but really nothing going on there as far as games except for a few developers there.
Justin?
The McElroy Ranch in beautiful Huntington, West Virginia.
Rob?
Austin, Texas. Excellent indie game scene.
Freak? Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to go to the preview events. You're just going to have to come up with articles that don't rely on that, feature pitches and things you can do by phone and internet, and, you manage.
So the story I sold to the Escapist, first one, was about a 12-person amateur development team in Ironton, Ohio, which is about 20 minutes from where I live. So there are stories out there. You can find them. And they aren't being told if you're not telling them and you live in a small area.
Check out your local chapter of your IDGA. That will help immensely, so you can figure out what's in your area, what's around that you could write about.
Thank you.
All right. Fun, challenging question. Outside of sniffing panties, what are the best ways to not take things personally, and if that's too hard, how important is it to not take things personally?
Ask yourself if, as a result of this rejection letter, a small kitten in China died. If the small kitten in China did not die as a result of rejection, guess what? The sun's going to come up tomorrow, and you will still be there. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. And everybody always says that, and it's always really trite. You say it to people who are dying all the time, and they're still going to die. But it is sometimes what you need to hear. Just saying it like it is, y'all. That's journalism. But, find someone in your life, your mom, your grandmother, your significant other, a friend from college who can be counted on when you call them and be like, dude, can you just tell me everything's going to be all right? And it sounds a little bit, emotional, but sometimes that's all you need to hear. And then you need to convince yourself to believe it, because trust me, that small kitten didn't die because you got rejected. I promise.
What if I arrange to have that happen?
Then you will never work in game journalism ever. We're obsessed with cats. Do you not know this?
Thank you.
I can actually help you too. I've been doing this for like 6 years. 50% of the people in video games journalism who are at the editorial position, grade A shitheads. So you are fine. You're money, man. You just got the wrong half. You got to find the cool half, like us, not those dopesters. They suck.
Hi. In terms of topics to pitch, I had this experience where I had this idea that I thought was really great, that I wanted to pitch the Escapist, and literally the next day you tweeted, please don't submit any more articles about X our topic. It's overdone. Yeah. And when you're talking about finding any example or any excuse to call out a pitch, because you see so many of them, are there any topics that you just look at and immediately go, no, it's overdone. I'm not even going to look at this?
How to get your girlfriend to play video games.
Yeah,
Oh,
those
God.
why games are/aren't art.
Why old games are better than new ones.
Oh.
I'm angry and cynical and have an accent. Seriously, we got enough of the cynical thing, in my opinion. Go and find some heartwarming gaming stories.
Yeah.
And get excited about this. Be honest with yourself when you make a pitch, and ask yourself, is it something you really want to read? If you're passionate, I think, about something and care about what you want to write about, that will come through 100% of the time.
Pregnancy in video games.
Not overdone.
Here's something to keep in mind. Topics will cycle on your favorite gaming forum. You will see the same idea over and over and over again because the particular group of people in that thread hasn't had that conversation yet. And they will thrash it out over and over and over again, happily. Can't do that with stories. Nobody wants to read that story 5 times. They just don't.
Thank you.
There's only 3 left. There's just 3. Oh,
one more.
Come to the
Come
end.
up
Go,
after.
go.
Come up after.
I was wondering if there's a good rule of thumb for how much content you should be writing, like per week or per day or anything.
What's your rent?
As much as you can fit into the waking hours you have without pissing off your significant other.
A full-time writer is usually doing 3 to 5 stories, sometimes even 6, 7, or 8 a day. If you can't do 3 to 5 in a week, you maybe need to juggle your time differently.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, they're kicking us all out. Thank you all very, very much for coming.
God damn.
Thank our wonderful panelists.